every year that I have been in ministry, there's been a theme for the year. So since coming to Unity of Wilmington, we've had the year of emergence, the year of expansion, the year of deepening, and 2019 is the year of harmony. Now, I'm quite certain that harmony means different things to different people. And I'm also quite certain that over the course of 2019, in exploration and living in a state and consciousness of wonder, we're going to discover what some of those many different meanings about harmony are. In the unity construct, in the framework of metaphysics that unity comes from as a way of life, harmony is a combination of the three primary creative aspects of beingness that we interpret as mind, idea, expression. Now this comes from Charles Fillmore's teachings. Charles Fillmore was the co-founder of Unity, and he was also known to say that mind, idea, expression is the Holy Trinity. Mind, idea, expression is the Holy Trinity. And he was also known sometimes to refer to mind, idea, expression as thinker, thought, and action. Because thinker is the consciousness from which we come from. Thought is the thoughts that we choose to attach our mind to and put our energy into. And then the action happens based on the consciousness we came from, the thoughts we've chosen to think, and the action just naturally follows. So let me give you an example. You get a flat tire. Who in here has had a flat tire? Who in here has known somebody who's had a flat tire? It's an experience. It's a circumstance. And what we have the opportunity to do as creative beings, we have the opportunity to employ these three aspects of our beingness. So step one is to become the thinker. Sounds easy, right? Trick question. It's very important that we, as the thinker, choose where to source our consciousness from. Are we going to source our consciousness from a sea of infinite potential, a unlimited divine possibility, a divine miracle, and a consciousness of right place, right time, right now? Or are we going to source our consciousness from inconvenience, from appearance of lack, an appearance of something is wrong or broken and not whole? See what I mean? It's a trick question. So as the thinker, the question begins with where are we going to source our consciousness? And then the second step is to choose the thought or the thoughts that we want to put our attention to, that we want to amplify or magnify. So do we want to, as the thinker, want to hold thoughts of fixing the tire is easy or difficult? As the thinker, do we want to hold thoughts that we can restore and repair this tire in ways that we haven't even thought of, but that they can be easy, and that is actually a way for us to restore wholeness to our car? Or as the thinker, do we want to blame? Stupid tire, stupid car, stupid nail, stupid why is this ruining my day? It's a choice of where we want to put our thoughts and which choice that what we want to magnify and amplify. And need I remind you at this point, this is called the Holy Trinity. So whether we're choosing to put our thoughts in, wow, this is a great opportunity to restore wholeness, or our thoughts into blame, both are holy. Oh, that's kind of hard to remember sometimes. But regardless of what we're choosing it. We are choosing those thoughts. And then step 3, based on the thoughts we're thinking, we can't help but take the action we take. Our action is going to be based on those thoughts we're thinking. So if we're thinking this is easy, this is wonderful, this is right place, right time, it is the next right step in our evolution to restore wholeness to this car, that's going to be the way we think. And that's going to be the way we act. And if our consciousness is on, this is difficult, this is hard, and it's a stupid thing that I have to do, then that's what we're going to create. You know, harmony is a combination of the three primary creative aspects of beingness. We think that one is good and one is bad. We think melodious harmony is good and discord and harmony is bad. That's not true. They just, they just are. They are, and they're both creative. They are both creative. Now, I prefer melodious harmony, but I also recognize that discordant harmony is an invitation for restoration. It's an invitation to return to wholeness. Discord can be one of the greatest gifts that we ever receive. So let's look at harmony from the construct of music. Harmony is a composition of individual sounds or simultaneously occurring frequencies, pitches, tones or notes, or chords. So when we think about music and making music, there are ways to make music that are melodious. And there are ways to make music that are discordant. For instance, if I just came over here to the piano and I played, that's melodious. That's discordant. And if you hear this a bunch of times, what are you really wanting to hear next? And that's a good thing. Or you might want to hear that. You might want to hear the whole chord resolve. In music, it's called resolve. So if there is discord in music, it's natural to want... Who said nothing? I'm taking names. It's natural. It's natural. So a couple of months ago, I was in Detroit, and I went to see a sound healer. And when I walked into her office, I was astounded. Because in her office, she had a spectacular array of instruments. I had never seen so many sound instruments in one little teeny tiny room. There was a piano, a cello, there were 2 harps, there were countless crystal bowls and Tibetan brass bowls and chimes and bells and gongs. I think she had it all, but I'm not sure what all is, but I think she had it all, including an instrument I had never seen before, a kotamo. Now, a kotamo looks like this. It's about this long, and it's actually a combination of 3 different instruments, a Pythagorean monochord, a Indian tempura, and a Japanese koto. And all she did when I walked in the door was she told me to sit in the chair, and I did. She started playing that thing, and I was gone. I was solid gone. And when she finished, I felt clearer, I felt lighter, and then I was very intrigued by a feeling I had, which was I felt validated. Who goes to a sound healer and comes out feeling validated and fulfilled? So I had about 100 questions, the first of which was, what did you do? And she said, well, the monochord is tuned to Om. And Om is that primordial sound that was present before we were, before time began. It's the Om is the sound of God. The Om is what we were before we were. It was like before anything else, we were the Om. So she began playing this Om, and that Om is the sound that we go to when we go into meditation. It's always that Om, she's playing that Om. And then she smiled and she said, and then I did something else. I found your soul note. I echoed it and added harmony. So now I have about 1,000 questions. What did you do and how did you do that? How did you know what my soul note was? And she explained that there are people who see auras. You know, I look at you, I see royal blue, and then I know that you're really highly spiritually evolved, or I look at you and I see turquoise and I know that you're calm and tranquil. Well, she hears soul notes. That's her gift. She hears the soul note. So she heard my soul note and she echoed it back to me and added in various harmonies and created a melodious experience for me. I was astounded. I had never even heard of a soul note before. But there's actually a bit of research or thought or teaching about soul notes. Soul note is the one note that we are born with. It's unique to us. We will recognize it when we hear it, and we know that we are attracted, or we find that we are attracted to people who are in our chord, for people who are melodious with us. So let's say the soul note was an A, and in a scale, an A looks like this. The most attractive, melodious people to us are going to be people who have a C-sharp soul note, and that's a third, or an E, and that's a fifth above us, or even an octave away from us. Those people with those soul notes are people we're going to just go, I love you. I don't even know you. And I have this vibe going on with you. It makes perfect sense. So let's say A will have a friend who's in E. Now the E will have its own scale, but they match. Because for the E, they're a fifth in the scale of A. And for the A, they're a fifth in the scale of E. And E will have a party, and they will invite A because A is their friend. So A goes to the party, and they're just having the best time with E because they're in the same, and their notes are harmonizing, and it sounds beautiful. Well, A meets some B's, but that's okay because B is in the A scale, and B is in the E scale. So A understands why there's B's at the party. Until A meets a D sharp. There is no D sharp. In fact, it's a half a step different from what A prefers. So A talks to D sharp, and they say to D sharp, what are you doing here? I can't even believe that E invited you. Because I have no resonance with you at all. And D sharp is like, well, I get along with E just fine. It starts to make sense, right? In the Western scale, there are 12 notes, but only 7 are in your scale. Somebody did the math, and they figured out that if every person on the planet had an equal share of each soul note, that we would be resonant with about 60% of the people in the world. Well, I could argue that. Anybody could argue that. We could say, oh no, in a spiritual community we're actually resonant with 80%, or we could argue that we're resonant with 90% or 92%. We can argue that all day long. But I think what's most important is to recognize the creative power of our own soul note. And that our job is not to change somebody else's note, it's to sing our own. And it is to do the very best that we were created to do. I don't want to do somebody else's job. I can't sing somebody else's note. I got to sing my note. You have to sing your note. So in community, our creative power is one of the greatest gifts of all. Now, we haven't always been taught that. And one of the ways that we've actually learned to try to return to our soul note is the practice of meditation. Years ago, 9 years ago to be exact, the minister that I had did an object lesson during service. He wanted to teach us how meditation works. And he took some dirt from the yard and he put it in a jar with some water. And then for every experience or circumstance or flat tire or argument with a friend that we could have, he shook that jar. He shook the jar and he said, this is the argument that you had with the person who wasn't your friend. This is the person that cut you off on the freeway. This is the person who stole your parking place at Costco yesterday. Can you believe how many people were at Costco yesterday? But with the practice of meditation, he said, we will watch this settle. Do you see the murkiness settling? You do? I'm telling you, I'm up close and I do not see it settling at all. I mean, he was completely red-faced. Completely red-faced, and I was completely intrigued. Had about 1 million questions. Would it make a difference if the liquid was something other than water? Would it make a difference if the medium was something other than dirt? I tried it. I went home and I tried it with rubbing alcohol. I tried it with mineral oil. I tried it with aquarium gravel. I tried it with red dirt. I tried it with dark dirt. I tried it with all kinds of things. And my last question to him was, can I take the jar? That jar sat on my desk for months and it never settled. It grew mold before it even thought about settling. So I'm thinking about soul notes and how important it is for us to sing our own soul note and what our soul note looks like, because it's the note that we're born with, and when we're born, we're pure and we're clean. So how can singing our soul note in a world with circumstances and events and things that happen ever look like this? It's pure and it's clean. And it represents that white light that we are born with. So imagine that this is our soul note. And no matter what happens in our day or in our week or in our community, we can really get it going and go into meditation. And I'm telling you, we're going to watch it settle pretty fast with meditation. With that Om, with the beginning and the remembering of our soul note, and a desire to notice that discord is merely an invitation for restoration. Unless you were born with phenomenally enlightened angel being parents, over time, you were invited to learn different notes. And you were required to sing different songs. And in fact, over time, you were impacted or chose to adopt values that were being held in collective consciousness. So in collective consciousness, we have both true and untrue. We have both good and evil. We have possible and impossible in collective consciousness. It's not that pure consciousness of the divine. It's the both and. So, you know, when we were 3, we learned to sing a different note. And when we were 6, we learned to sing a bunch of different notes. And when we were 42, we learned, filling it up. You can take one more. So we learned to think all these other thoughts, to sing all these different songs. But we still to this day have the opportunity of, regardless of the experiences or the circumstances or the diagnosis or the arguments or the differences of opinion, we still have the opportunity to Om and come back to our soul note. Bruce Kinney was talking to me about this, and he said, do you know that the sand settles first? And I said, how beautiful is that? The sand is our soul note, and that settles first. And sometimes it takes a while. And in community, we're like, come on, I'm uncomfortable with the discord. And in our lives, we say, come on, I'm uncomfortable with the discord. And we want to support ourselves in ways to make our lives clearer and more fulfilled. So we have the choice of getting a bigger container. Of getting a bigger container with more water. Metaphysically, one of the metaphysical meanings or representations of water is that it's spiritual intention. One of the most powerful spiritual intentions is love. So if we were to take our experiences, I made sure I got on tight, because I didn't want our stuff to go all over the place, and pour it in a bigger jar, including the dirt, we're going to see it settle faster, because we've had this spiritual intention of love. Jesus said the greatest commandment of all is to love. As the thinker, the thought, and the action, we are the primary creative essences that bring about new harmony. With a spiritual intention of love, we can do anything. We can create anything. Here's our dirt. Here's our jar. What are we going to put in it? If you are willing to engage in the powerful spiritual intention of love, take a breath. Here are some affirmations we can make. With the powerful spiritual intention of love, I see myself as whole. With the powerful spiritual intention of love, I see each other as whole. With the powerful spiritual intention of love, I see this community as whole. With love, all we can see is wholeness. We don't see broken. We don't see need to be fixed. We don't see less than. We see the beauty of your wholeness and your wholeness and your wholeness. We see the beauty of each other's wholeness. With the spiritual intention of love, we see wholeness. Take another breath. And if you're willing to join in these affirmations with us today, let's say them together. With the powerful spiritual intention of love, I see myself as whole. With the powerful spiritual intention of love, I see each other as whole. With the powerful spiritual intention of love, I see this community as whole. One of the ways we can hold this powerful spiritual intention of love is to send it forth, to find that own, that clear space within inside us, to find our soul note and own it out into the world. Send our love out into the world and then recognize it as it comes back to us. We're going to sing Karen Drucker's song, I Send My Love, and then Reverend Nikki is going to lead us into meditation. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me.
Let's begin our movement into meditation by sounding that primordial sound that was before creation, the Om. Together. Just listening for a moment. Listening to and for that vibration of creation. And then let's sound the note of our wholeness with the word whole. So we'll start with Om and we'll move to whole. Allow yourself to feel the beginning. From Om to whole, connected by love, infused and surrounded by love, for we truly are that circle of love, creating the Om and living from our wholeness in every moment, in this moment, and in the next moment, and the next moment. For each moment is truly a new moment, a new opportunity to live as love, to live in creation, and to live our wholeness. From that consciousness of love, let's spend some time in the sacred and holy silence. Notice if you can feel your own note reverberating in your body. Just allow yourself to take a moment and feel it. That note that you are. That unique, individual expression of the divine. It's seeking to find both harmony and discord and resolution with all beingness. That dynamic movement of energy, the dynamic movement of love in, through, and as us, our very beingness, in, through, and as this community, in, through, and on this planet, allowing love to be the note that we choose in every moment as we send our love out. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. And let yourself just use the movement for a moment and send your love with your physical movement and then bring it back to yourself. You might look a little silly, but truthfully, we're simply following that flow of energy out and in, however it works for you, on your unique, individualized expression, loving and bringing that love, allowing it to return to us, for it's truly available to us in every moment, out and in. The beautiful thing is it's like a dance, so it can have every type of movement that dance could have. It can be as wild and crazy as you want it to be, and as smooth and gentle as you might have it. Sending love out and allowing it to return, and sending it out and allowing it to return. Living in that circulation, living in principle. And love is simply another name for principle. So as we let that settle for